I am so excited to be here. I'm going to stop sharing my screens because we don't have anything to share via screen per se, but I'm just going to be talking to you today. So welcome, my beautiful people. We are here for another luxury short-term rental doctor live session. So the reason I am coming at you today is because my understanding is that many of you decided you wanted to dive into real estate investing. Some of you are still kind of on the fence. But why do people want to dive into real estate? Well, it's to make a little cash on the side, of course, especially my lovely, busy medical and otherwise professional. So owning a property has changed the trajectory of my whole life, y'all. So much so that we're heading to Portugal to invest in real estate there as well. But that's a side note. Owning a property overall is a huge plus, but here's the deal, and here's where it gets a little tricky. Sometimes real estate investing can be very, very risky. Okay, so for those of you who have experienced this firsthand, you know that it could be a total bonus, a total plus, or it can be a leaky bucket money pit. Okay, so the reason for that is some people jump into investing faster than they have really taken the time out to evaluate and analyze the deals that they're investing in. So that's very, very disconcerting as well as concerning. And so that's why I am here today. So give me a second. I want to make sure that my mic is on, that you guys can hear me loud and clear. I'm looking at my mic. It's not even, come on, Mike. Let me know, guys, for those who are here with me, let me know that you can hear me loud and clear because I don't want to do all this. And you're like, I didn't hear a word you said, Rachel. You're smiling, you're engaging, but I didn't hear anything that you said. Okay, awesome. I think our mic is all set and good to go. But without further ado, guys, I just wanted to come in and let you know how we in our business are figuring things out because everything is figure outable and doesn't matter what type of obstacle or what type of a struggle that you may face in real estate, whether it's, oh my gosh, my cash reserves aren't there, my cash flow isn't there. Oh my gosh, my cleaners aren't doing the greatest job. Oh my gosh, my guests are damaging my property, or my tenants are not paying rent on time. Everything is figure outable. And I got to tell you, the reason that I am here today, that I'm able to at 10 something in the morning or 7 in the evening, depending when you are catching this episode, is because of real estate. And for that, I'm ever so grateful. So I'm just like you. I'm another busy professional who decided to take a leap of faith, and I figured some things out. We've made our own mistakes along the way, but what I want to share with you today are the 5 ways that we have mitigated risk in our own business and ensure that month after month after month, we're laser focused on that cash flow. We're ensuring that we are seeing cash at the end of the day. All right. So everything is figure outable. I know that's a Marie Forleo statement. I absolutely love it. I had to kind of coax myself with that statement month after month as things were getting a little dicey. I wasn't exactly sure if the deal was going to go down as expected. And so I want you to walk away with that today, okay? And I want to ensure that I'm giving you the resources to tap into that. So number one, it's going to be obvious, and I hope it doesn't offend anyone, but the number one way that we are able to mitigate risk is to make sure that we have some cash reserves. Okay, whether it is 1 month of cash reserves or 2 months of cash reserves, I like to have a hefty amount of cash reserves because what it does is it breaks the stress cycle of month after month of payments that need to go out and bills that need to get paid. So if you're running tight every single month, it's going to be difficult for you to break out of that stress cycle. So cash reserves is absolute key, and it actually solves quite a bit of problems. So if your goal this year is to generate $5,000 a month uh, in cash flow, which is I was on a call last night with one of the members of our community who just launched her property back in November, and that was her goal, is to generate $5,000 a month in cash flow, and she was able to accomplish that. Super, super proud of her. Well, if that is your goal, to generate $5,000 a month in cash flow, that's great. But be sure that you're setting aside that cash flow to increase your cash reserves. Okay. So, one of the systems that we like to use to ensure that our cash flow and our cash reserves is intact is the profit first method. And before I found the profit first method, guys, I was in that stress cycle of not knowing whether or not, I was going to have enough at the end of the month to pay for things, whether it's pay for payroll, right? So there's nothing more stressful than that. So cash reserves solves a lot of those problems. So that is number one, ensuring that you have built up your cash reserves. Make it your goal to build it up to 2 months of expenses, then 3 months of expenses, and then a percentage of your cash flow of your revenue should go into that bucket, okay, for your operating expenses. And one of the tools that we use and one of the banks that we love that's able to help us to have that kind of wallet envelope system, but it's online, a digital envelope system where we have those different categories separated out, is a company called Relay 5. That's a bank that we use, and it allows us to create in a moment's notice another envelope. So our profits, our operating expenses, the tax bucket, all of that is delineated in Relay 5. So tap into that, my friends. Okay. All right. The second, number two, let's dive in. Okay, so when it comes to mitigating risk and making sure that your property is able to host the next guest at the next turn, your property is in great operating conditions, your property is ready to, generate that revenue that you're projecting for the year. There are a couple of levers, right, that are involved in ensuring that. Number one, the number one lever, of course, is your routine maintenance, right? You want to always conduct your routine maintenance for your properties to ensure that the mechanicals are in place, they're up to par, they're good to go. But number two, how do we preserve our property from guest-related damage? How do we preserve the goods inside of the property from guest-related damage that will impact the next day? Well, one of the ways that we are able to do so is by collecting damage deposits. So collecting deposits give you the peace of mind that you're operating your business in a way that you are protective of the asset. The real estate, the property is actually one of the assets in your business. So how do you protect that asset? Well, you collect deposits. And so we use platforms that are able to seamlessly collect those deposits for us. And once we have collected those deposits, there is a 7-day stay or 14-day stay of that deposit being held kind of in an escrow limbo type of situation. And then the deposit thereby is returned back to the guest. If in fact we've determined that everything is okay, say there's a little bit of a ding here or there, nothing too major, we will return that deposit back, okay? And the reason we're okay with quote unquote eating the cost and returning the deposit back and not necessarily worrying about retaliation or not necessarily worrying about dipping into our cash flow is because of another another lever, and that is number three. Lever number three is damage insurance. Having damage insurance in place, paid for by the guests, is another amazing way that we are protective of the property. So for those of you who are here with us, go ahead and start jotting down your questions. I cannot wait to get to each and every one of you. Let me know also if you are in fact encountering some struggles with your short-term rental, struggles with your midterm rental, your long-term rentals, right? Let me know, what's your real estate struggle? What's your biggest real estate struggle right now? Because again, I am here to serve you. I'm here to make sure that you are ticking the boxes and just to kind of give you an inside look at our business and how we are mitigating a lot of the risk that we see our colleagues having in the marketplace. Okay, so
The reason I love a damage insurance for our spaces, guys, is because it helps us to mitigate a lot of the wear and tear types of damages that occur at the property. Say we actually invest in pretty nice linens for our properties. We operate both short-term rental and midterm rentals. Short-term rentals are stays that are less than 28 days. And midterm rentals are stays that are 28 days to up to a year. Long-term rentals are stays that are greater than a year. With our short-term rental and our midterm rentals, which are the two asset classes that we invest in, that's it. With those two asset classes, our properties are furnished. Okay. So short-term and midterm rentals, properties typically are furnished. There are some midterm rentals that are not furnished, but ours particularly are furnished. So we have goods inside of the properties that are at risk of getting damaged. And believe it or not, one of the most expensive goods in our property that uh, would be a leaky bucket for us had we not have had our damage insurance in place is our linens. We have all white linens and we invest in pretty decent quality of linens and we invest in commercial grade linens. So having commercial grade linens is one way to mitigate risk, right? Because they're natural fiber, they can endure bleach, they can endure quite a bit because they're commercial. Versus if you go and grab some linens off of Amazon, guys, you're going to be buying linens back to back to back because they're not commercial grade, they're residential. Like you typically wash your sheets probably once a week. Well, with commercial grade linens, you can wash them every 2 days. That's already a difference, right? So the wear and tear on a commercial grade linen is higher than a wear and tear on a regular residential linen. And so that's why even though some linens have, 20,000 five-star reviews uh Amazon, doesn't mean they're bad linens when you get them and you're like in 3 months you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta toss these and purchase. It's not that they're bad linens, it's that they're not commercial grade. They weren't made for hospitality. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right. So all this to say, oh my gosh, just having a an insurance that covers the cost of, the wear and tear on the property paid for by the guest. Again, it's a small upcharge to the guest is a game changer and it has reduced our operating expenses from 45% of our revenue down to 32% of our revenue having that insurance. And then it's a great guest satisfier because at the end of the day, say they broke some expensive wine glasses or the stool that we had a stool in the island that was broken. Some one kid was being rowdy, and the family reached out to us and said, "I'm so sorry, we broke the stool. Where can we find it to replace it?" And they were just completely distraught because we had already collected their deposit, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, now she's going to tap into my deposit. We're so sorry. We didn't mean it." And they alerted us to it. It was clearly not mischievous or anything like that. And so, guess what was the great feeling to have was the ability to tell that guest, you know what? Don't worry about it. It sounds like it was an accident. We just hope you enjoyed your stay. No worries. We're not going to charge you for anything. You're good to go. We've got a backup. We'll replace it. You're good to go. When that five-star review could not have come in faster because we had that in place. So guys, do not sleep on putting on a little bit of a damage insurance, the damage insurance. Then we sent out the claim. They paid us the $250. We were good to go because it was already pre-funded from the guests that were already paying into that. Okay. So now we're self-insured. We're not going to get into that right now, but keep that in mind, guys. Keep that in mind. It makes a difference and it changes the dynamics of that conversation, the dynamics of that thing, especially if the guest was not malicious. Now, if they came in and trashed your place, that's a whole different story. That's where we tap into the initial deposit that we were talking about a little bit earlier. Okay. So that's number three. Number four. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I have so much. I have so much I want to share, but yeah, let me go ahead and share number four. Number four, guys, I want you to be very mindful of your revenue and your calendar management. Okay. So the way that we mitigate risk and make sure that we're seeing cash flow is listen, right now, I know winter is here. A lot of you are facing um, your calendar being quite empty. This season is a very, very slow season for many of you, and we're going to solve that in just a moment, okay? Part of what we do as a business is we evaluate our calendar. If the calendar is looking empty, we do a number, we actually engage in a number of strategies, one of which is we look at our revenue maintenance calendar management. So for example, if we have a few orphan days, and an orphan day is like a day that's in between two bookings, a day or two that's in between two bookings, we go ahead and we reach out to the guests checking out or checking in that straddles those few days, and we invite them to book at a discounted rate. Okay, so think about that orphan day. We're able to reach out and say, hey, would you like to book, add that Wednesday on your calendar? We'll give you a discount on that date. All right. And for those who are coming in, we can ask them, would you like to add that Thursday? We'll go ahead and offer you a discounted rate. So Orphan Days is one of the best ways to increase your bookings, reach out to the guests on the front or the back end to get them to book that extra day. And we get 50% of our guests. Last year, when we looked at our Orphan Days, 50% of them said, oh, yeah, I would love to. So keep that in mind, okay? So there are a few levers that we pull within the revenue management branch of our community, of our company. For sure, we look at getting strike-through pricing. There's definitely a few, but I just wanted to drop that hot tip for you regarding Orphan Days. All right. Number five, I have number five, and then I have a bonus for you, okay? Number five. How do we mitigate risk in our business? Okay, so this one is going to be heavy, guys. So for those of you who are multitasking, come back to me. Marketing, marketing. And one of the ways to market is, of course, multi-platform listings. You need to know who your avatar is. You need to know who a few of your avatars are. Who is it that you're looking to serve in your community? And you need to make sure that you're front and center and you're available and you are reaching out to them, okay? So know your avatars and make sure that you're listing on these multi-platforms. If you're sitting around, you're like, okay, I'm only listed on Airbnb, for instance, and I'm not getting any bookings, well, are you listed on Verbo? Maybe Verbo is the platform for your market. I know that last year, one of our members, she earned, I want to say $130,000 worth of revenue on Verbo and $30,000 worth of revenue on Airbnb. So I would say do not sleep on Verbo. Take a look at your market, read the room, and see where else should you be listing your property. Okay. And that market is actually the Kissimmee market. So very specific. It is market specific. Number two, you want to list on other platforms for midterm rentals. And we'll talk about midterm rentals as a whole other vibe. We'll talk about that shortly. Okay. Number two, you want to list on platforms that host midterm rentals. And one of which are corporate housing by owner is one of the platforms. Furnish Finder is another one of the platforms. Okay. And so they're different in that corporate housing by owner typically are your larger homes, are your pricier homes. Which is our asset class. Furnish Finder are the more cost-effective homes, and it caters primarily to traveling medical professionals. And so those nightly rates and monthly rates are much lower. There are other sites such as booking.com. So if you're not leveraging booking.com, you may want to look into that, but look into leveraging booking.com in a very cautious manner. Okay. Booking.com has some pros and some cons, but if you are in a dearth, if you're in a drought, it's very much worth leveraging booking.com. A few warnings that I would give on booking.com, if I can think off the top of my head. Few warnings is I would not leverage instant booking for them at all. Do not leverage instant booking at all. Explore how you can complete the booking transaction without actually having to collect the funds from the guests, because that's something that they have in place, you having to collect the funds from the guests. But if there is a, what do you call it? If there is a way to overcome that, I would go ahead and sign up for whichever subscription that they have that overcomes that particular transaction. You chasing the guests down to collect the funds is not a vibe. Okay, so be very, very mindful. I want you to be open-minded to get the booking, but at the same time, I want you to be mindful. Social media, do not sleep on social media, my friends. Sometimes I have found that using Instagram or social media has been a great way to get some of the most unlikely bookings. You just never know. So having a social media strategy around your marketing is oh so very important. I mentioned a little bit earlier, understanding who your guest avatar is can then help you to navigate where else you want to list your property. So, for instance, if you're hosting travel nurses, for example, right, you would want to list your property on Furnish Finder as well as on certain social media platforms. There are Facebook groups for nurses that you may want to explore. So, again, do not sleep on social media. All right. Uh, Other places that you may want to consider, depending on who it is that you want to serve, if you're serving the military, because you have a military base nearby, you want to list your properties on those specific military websites and connect with the right entities so that your property is certified as whatever credential it needs to be certified. So my friend owns a company called At Ease. So PCT At Ease is his site. That is for listing your property on military websites. All right. Other places you can list your property. Again, we're still on the multi-platform marketing pillar. And what does that mean? That means you do not want to put all your eggs in one basket. I know I don't. Okay. And that's going to be controversial because my mentor actually, she had over 100 properties on Airbnb and she made a killing, sold her business for $8 million. And that is just using one platform. Kudos to her. But I have trust issues, bro. I have trust issues. I'm not going to lie. I want to list it in all the places. So because of that, I'm just sharing with you where I would list my properties. Okay, so say you are an individual that has a secondary avatar that is the film industry. You want to look at your local film industry, companies that are hosting the film industry cast and crew, as well as leveraging the property as a set, the opportunity to leverage the property as a set. So there are local companies that you can work with. And there are platforms such as Peerspace is one, Peerspace is one, and another platform called Gigster, that's Gigstr, is another. So definitely leverage those sites as well if the filming industry is prevalent in your local market. Okay, so those are some of the websites. Other websites would leverage attributes of your property or attributes of your strategy. So say you have glamping as your strategy, which is glorious or glamorous camping, and you have these fancy tents or yurts or domes or even RVs, you can leverage sites like HitCamp and Outdoorsy as well. So keep that in mind. And let's see, what are some other strategies? Oh, say you have a swimming pool and you just want to leverage your swimming pool as an Airbnb or short-term rental for a few hours during the day. There's sites like Swimply that you can leverage. So I'm trying to get Jesse to let me build a pool, and I need to do the cost benefits analysis um, on how much I can charge for others to use it for parts of the year so that it will pay itself off. So wish me luck. He's not buying it now, especially since I can't swim yet. Yeah, I'm the one that's the most excited about the pool, but not knowing how to swim is not a vibe for the pool designer. Anyway, all right. Last but not least, okay, so guys, when I spoke a little bit earlier about the damage insurance, I failed to mention guest screening. Guest screening is very important. So that is a way to mitigate risk for your property as well. Okay, last but not least, guys, you know I'm going to go there. You know I'm going to go there. My tried and true midterm rental insurance strategy. I love the midterm rental insurance strategy. Not only does it mitigate revenue risk, but it mitigates time capital as well. And so for me, I am all in on my midterm rental insurance strategy. This is where, say, for instance, a guest or let's start from scratch because I want to break it down for you, okay? Because this is huge. And some of you are hearing this for the very, very first time. Okay. So say a family unfortunately encounters a disaster and their home is damaged. Okay. And say the home is damaged to the extent that they have to move out of their home and rent out another home and they go and stay with you. They stay in your home, in your real estate property, in your rental. Okay. And they're staying with you for 3 months, for 6 months, for 13 months, for 19 months, depending on the extent of the damage. And every single month you earn a check that is paid to you by their homeowner's insurance, Allstate, State Farm, Geico, Travelers. You're getting paid month after month by the insurance company. So that is my midterm rental insurance strategy. Absolutely love it. I have been at it since 2018. It is a game changer. It is as close to passive income as possible. Okay. Yet we're getting and earning very, very lucrative revenue amounts. So super excited about that. And this strategy has so many bonuses. We get the direct bookings that we crave and we absolutely love. These are the direct bookings that we're not necessarily beholden to the fees of the short-term rental platforms. We get to earn our short-term rental rates. Some of the members of our community have exceeded their short-term rental rates, and these are long-term guests, guys. These are long-term guests. We call them midterm guests because we're not exactly sure the length of their stay. But say the contractor no shows and there's a delay, say there's a supply chain delay. They have to extend and extend and extend. We get less turnovers, but despite less turnovers, we do require our cleaners to come into the property once a month to clean the property and kind of spy on the property as well. Remember, protect the asset. Protect the asset. Okay. We get to avoid a lot of the regulatory constraints that are out there. So, say they are changing the regulations. And so, shorter term stays are not permissible. Well, guess what? We have implemented our midterm rental strategy. These guests are some of the most low maintenance guests that you will ever encounter. They're just happy to be out of a hotel in a home that is in like kind as their home, if not better. And they're happy to be close enough to their home that they can go and visit the property and ensure, in fact, that their property is being worked on. The contractors are showing up. We get to share the wealth with our community. So this is absolutely a team sport. Say, for instance, I have 4 properties in this specific radius and say they're all booked. Well, guess what? Once I get that inquiry from the insurance companies, I reach out to the other hosts that are in my network and I get to tell them, hey, I've got a deal. So it's a team sport. It is not the feeding frenzy that I have seen occur in some markets that are oversaturated with short-term rentals. And what I love is, say my colleagues do not have a property available to host this guest. Instead of saying, nope, we've got nothing, right? I obviously have nothing. They have nothing. I don't tell the company, no, we have nothing. I get to leverage a strategy called arbitrage, where I'm able to rent another property on the long-term rental um, on the long-term rental market, rent it out for a year, 18 months, and then furnish it using my wholesalers that have West Elm Pottery Barn furniture, and then launch it as a midterm rental, and they're able to book it. So this is a property I don't own, so I get in there for less than 15K, and I'm able to put up a 4 or 5 bedroom property for this guest, and we're able to generate a meaningful amount of revenue. I'm talking 5-figure monthly rents, which is massive, which is absolutely massive. So that is why I love this strategy. Um, of course, with any great thing, there are a few risks. So one of which is if not done correctly, there are some tax benefits that come with short-term rental that you wouldn't be able to take advantage with this midterm rental strategy, but there are ways to overcome those as well. That's why we have some of the top tax strategists inside of our community. And calendar stewardship, you need to be mindful of your calendar because you've got short-term rental bookings trying to come in and midterm rental and short-term rental, midterm, it can be a mess. So be mindful of that. So I would say those are the two that are the cons and that are kind of a risk. But outside of that, oh my goodness, I'm super, super, super excited about sharing with you guys are ways to mitigate risk inside of your real estate business. Okay, so without further ado, guys, I'm going to hop into some Q&A. Let's see here. All right. Okay, so Love, hi Love. Love is asking, how do you establish an international rental and maintain cleaning, restocking, and maintenance? Love, that is a great question. So, same answer would be this would be the same as establishing a local rental. It would be the same as establishing a remote rental out of state. So it doesn't have to be international, it could be local as well. So when I was starting off in my business, Love, excuse me, I started off as wearing all of the hats. Okay. And so what do I mean by that? I wore all of the hats in my organizational structure. So even though I had an organizational chart per se, but I wore all the hats. So my chart started with guest relations, property maintenance, housekeeping, marketing, and finance. Okay, so those were the 5 building blocks of my business. And as you and also of course the owner, right? Owner, host. That right there is the overarching. And underneath were those 5 departments: guest relations, property maintenance, housekeeping, marketing, sales, finance, and admin. And underneath each, I had the names of the department heads. And under the names of the department heads were as follows: Rachel, 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 and Rachel, right? So I was doing everything. I even cleaned, I made beds. I made beds when I first started off back in 2018. Okay, I did it all. And so my goal was to fire Rachel in all of those departments. Okay. So one of the ways that I did that is to rapidly find and secure some of the top talent in that particular market. And one of the first hires that I had, of course, was my cleaners. I needed the cleaners to replace me because it took me forever to make 12 beds. I had one property that had 12 beds. Okay. It took me forever to make beds. I fired myself from the cleaner. Of course, maintenance. I was never the best with property maintenance. I could do a few touch-ups here and there, but if there's a plumbing issue, if there's a water leak, if a TV needed to be mounted, right? I'm not her. I watch enough HGTV and enough YouTube videos. I've tried a lot of things, but I'm not her. So immediately I leverage apps and tools to find and build my maintenance team. So 2 or 3 maintenance people are what I recommend that you have, just in case one is not available, you can tap on another. And apps such as Thumbtack is a great way to get started. And what was great for us at the time, before we have in-house maintenance, what Thumbtack was you had a reciprocal reviewing system. So they can review you, you can review them. So they kind of had to show up versus a lot of the contractors these days who just no show, right? From there, guest relations. I held on to guest relations for the longest time until I could outsource that to a VA. One of my first hires was a bookkeeper, and now we have a CFO, but a bookkeeper was one of my first hires as well because the numbers, I want to make sure the numbers were correct. And so there, I use a bookkeeper now and a CFO, but a lot of the members in my community were just talking about it last night. There are amazing apps that are out there that help you um, to collect your books, all of the receipts, whether it's in your email, whether it's a receipt that is linked up to your PayPal, or I'm pulling it up now. And so I shared this. I was training with one of the members of my team who does the operations. Okay, it collects all of your Amazon receipts, all of your PayPal receipts, it collects your email receipts, it collects them, and then it helps you categorize them by property, your Venmo, which is amazing, right? Let's see, your gas, your meals as it relates to your business. So I think that's important. I think that's important. And there is an app for that. So when I shared that with one of the members of our community, they went ahead and they let go their bookkeeper because they weren't doing a good job, sadly. And if you're a bookkeeper, don't come for me. I'm not talking about you per se, but they weren't doing a good job. Everything was a lot of back and forth. The items were mischaracterized and categorized rather. And so once they got a hold of this app, they said, that's it. And there's, when they say AI, it's coming for some of the roles out there. Well, it's coming for, I would say, the C and the D players, even the B minus players. Okay, so we are leveraging AI to replace the B minus players and get the A players to train the AI to replace them. I mean, it is what it is. You gotta bring it when it comes to working for a small but mighty business. You gotta bring it. And so all of this to say to you, love, is building your critical operations team. Building your critical operations team is how I'm able to sit right here today while my properties are getting rented, they're getting cleaned, they're getting maintained, they're on a schedule for routine maintenance. All of that has to do with building a critical operations team. I don't care if the house is next door to you. I don't care if the house is another state away. I don't care if the house is international. Okay. So, one of the first things that I did as we were looking to grow our portfolio in Portugal, one of the first questions is, who are my boots on the ground? Who are the assets that I need to come alongside of my business? And so that is the question for sure. So cleaning, restocking, maintenance, all of that is definitely being outsourced for sure. Awesome. All right, next question. Let's see. Hi, Estella. Okay, so Estella has a few questions for us. So Estella says, where can we find a list of regular maintenance? Okay, so that is going to be based on the specific property, Estella. So some of the things that we maintain are, for instance, the HVAC. Those are your larger mechanicals, right? So the HVAC is definitely one of the big things that we leverage for regular maintenance. And then we hire contractors who are looking at the property and identifying, you know what, this particular mechanical is in good condition, but if we're not mindful, if we're not watching it, you know what, it can become a problem a little bit later on. So let me stay on top of it. So finding a good contractor who has a partnership type of mindset is going to be your best bet to just overhaul, take a look at the property as a whole. They're going to look at the furnace, for instance. They're going to look at the water heater, for instance. They're going to breathe life into it until, it's time to go. So I would rather my capital expenditures to be as low as possible. I don't want to replace a water heater if I don't have to, right? So what can we do to continue to maintain to make sure it is up to par? All right. So next question. All right, so Estella's asking for a list of items per room. So Estella, we're going to be breaking down on, let me look at the calendar. Let's see here. So that is module, let's see. Yep, module 6 on February the 26th. Estella, I will be sharing with you the irresistible property setup where you can leverage my punch list of all of the breakdowns for all of the rooms. But if you want to tap in now, look inside of your design portal and tap into Show Plays. They have a link that will give you the breakdown for all of the rooms. Okay, so look inside your design, your property design, what's it called? Nicia, help me to find the name to give to Estella for the property design. What's it called? The property design product. So I have all of the breakdowns, whether you're purchasing on your own, whether you're purchasing using our 2 recommended vendors for all of those wholesale opportunities, so West Elm as well as Pottery Barn. So those vendors are in there, or whether you're renting furniture, which I don't recommend renting furniture. There's the longevity is not there for that as far as the return on investment. So all of that is in there. I just don't remember the name of that particular card, but it is inside of your portal, Estella. All right. So Stella asks, do the claims affect your premiums and damage insurance? It well, we don't really have premiums with the damage insurance. So the guest is paying every single time that they are staying with us. Say it's anywhere from $25 to $50 for every stay. So we do not pay a premium at all. Okay. So it's the same fee per guest per stay. Every stay, they pay a particular fee for the damage insurance. And so the damage insurance companies that we work with will be broken down for you in the risk mitigation. So can't wait to share those with you inside of the Arbitrage Academy. All right, let's see. James has a question. James says, how long did it take you to get your first MTR contract? So James, that's a great question. This was back in 2018. And to be honest with you, I really was not seeking after MTR contracts. Okay, so for me, it's going to be different. I actually stumbled upon it once they reached out to us. I asked, okay, so what is this? And then I started to look for these types of contracts and connect with the companies that are looking for stays for these types of guests. So let me answer you the question a little bit differently because I don't think I'm a good example since I wasn't seeking after them. But I typically tell our members I've seen it on average take about a month. However, one of our members, Tech, it took him 4 months for his first contract. However, Lakita, Dr. Esther, Dr. Gabby, it took them less than a month. Miss Lakita, she's a nurse executive. It took her 3 days. Okay, so it varies. It definitely varies, but I said about a month. So James, let me know, how long has it been taking you to get a booking for your insurance contract? Let us know what you've done so far, and let's see how we can best support you, my friend. All right, so guys, feel free to continue to leave your questions in the chat. I'm going to run for now. Okay, perfect. All right, so James says, I have a 4-bedroom available. I prefer MTR over Airbnb and Vrbo gets. Yes, so James, 4 bedrooms are absolutely, absolutely amazing. And what's great about them is that there's a scarcity in the market for 4-bedroom properties in a lot of markets, and you can serve a very specific avatar. So I'm super excited about that. So I love a 4-bedroom, although we have seen a lot of members find success with 1-bedrooms, with 2-bedrooms, and so on and so forth. But with 4-bedrooms, we can really drive up the revenue, especially if we know how to price the property in such a fashion that they're attracted to us. We can have those conversations and then negotiate. Okay. So, this is one of the things that we're going to talk about on this Thursday. I have a free masterclass coming up Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. You would just pick one day by going to shorttermgems.com/MTR, and we're going to drop that in the chat for you. But that's what we're going to be breaking down. We're going to be talking about that visibility that you need to have. And I think you tick off one of the important boxes, visibility, by being a little bit more distinct from the competition is fantastic. The other thing that I would look at is, James, well, how's your calendar? Is your calendar maintained in such a fashion that if I were to go and look at your calendar and search for a 60-day stay availability in your particular market, will your property even show up? One of the biggest mistakes that I see that our community makes is they allow these 2-night bookings to pepper all over their calendar. And when it is time for that juicy, glorious midterm rental stay to occur, well, they don't even show up on search because their calendar is out of sync and they're not even available. Right. So, James, how is your calendar? That's my question. My third question is, are you speaking to this guest avatar? Are you speaking to them in a way that they recognize, oh, wow, okay, so this is a property. Yeah, it's on Airbnb, but he's talking about these month-to-month stays. He's talking about bundle pricing. He's talking about renovations. He's talking about displaced families. Are you speaking to your guests in such a way that they say, wow, okay, she sees me, he sees me. This is where I need to stay. So much so that they're going to take that link and send it to their insurance company and say, you know what? This is where I want to stay. This is the place for me. Okay. So, is your listing checking off all of those boxes? So, those are some of the things that I would want to know for sure. But feel free to join me. Feel free to join me. Feel free to join me. And we'll talk about it a little bit more. Okay, let's see. Okay, so Estella says most real estate investment fall into their perfect spot by accident or a God incident. Yes, absolutely. And that is what happened to me, Estella, with midterm rentals. I didn't look for it. I didn't look for insurance. Funny story. Okay, so I didn't want to kind of digress, but here's how it literally happened. Okay. And my husband, he may be around. He may need to chime in because it was one of those situations where we were liquidating some of our portfolio. We were selling off some properties, using a 1031 exchange to buy up a couple of other properties that were a little bit bigger and that were a little bit better, right? And so when we, they're gonna kill me. I'm gonna speak low because I don't want them to hear me. When we were moving out of this one particular property, we had removed all of the furnishings. We put it on the market. It was time to get the property viewed in a few days. I would say 75% of the furnishings were gone. Okay. So, I get an inquiry from the insurance company, my very first insurance inquiry ever. And knowing that in this particular market that the short-term rental, well, actually the long-term rental, unfurnished houses were renting at $1,800 to $2,000 per month for a 5-bedroom. I wanted to have the conversation because I approach all of my business with curiosity. And so I wanted to have the conversation anyway. I said, well, you know what? Knowing that I was not interested in renting out the property, we had unfurnished it, but I was wondering what someone like them, it seemed pretty legit, how much they would be willing to pay for the property. I said, well, can we do $4,000? Which was double what an unfurnished property was was renting in the marketplace. And they were like, sure, yeah, we'll do 4,000 a month. I was like, wait, wait a minute, wait a minute. You said that they needed because we had a guest suite that was like a casita. I said, oh, you said you needed the casita also. Okay, so that's gonna be 5,000 because that's an extra $1,000 per month. They're like, bet, sure, we'll take it. But wait, you said that there were pets, so it's gonna be 6,000. But wait, I said, but wait. Oh, you said you need furnishings. We're gonna have to move that back. But wait, we got to $11,000, guys. For those, like, if you're not, and I'm looking at my husband like, stop moving. They had 25% of the house to move. I was like, time out, time out. And he was like, no, do not put me through this again, woman. Don't you dare. I was like, please pause, pause, pause. I could not sleep. There has been a few of these real estate moments in my life where I was like, I can't sleep. This is just out of this world. And yeah, and that's how we got started. And I started to ask the question, okay, what is this midterm rental insurance strategy? I ended up sharing it on Bigger Pockets, got featured as editor's choice. I'm actually heading out to Maui to get interviewed by Brandon Turner because he had asked me to share this strategy with his Better Life community. So I've mentored them, and it is a better life. It is a better life. It is midterm rental. You're getting a close to passive income while still generating your short-term rental rates. And here's the cherry on top, while helping someone in your community who has gone through one of the most traumatic experiences in their lives. I've dealt with families who've encountered fire where they've almost lost a loved one. I've dealt with families who have lost everything that they possess on this earth. I've dealt with a variety of individuals. I don't see another win-win-win strategy outside of this one. Okay, so I will continue to share it everywhere that I'm given a platform. I am excited about sharing it with you. I thought that I was all that, and I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna pull out a '90s thing. Don't come for me. I thought I was all that in a bag of chips with my 11K months. But join me on this Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday so that actually it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Join me because I'm going to share with you not just my story, but the story of Sammy that was able to generate far more than we have been able to generate. I'm going to share with you the story of Mike, who was able to generate $45,500 a month, which is insane to me, using our very strategy. So when the student far exceeds your numbers, and this is what I pray for. I pray that every person who comes across my path, okay, is blessed beyond measure, have exceeded far more than I could have ever accomplished within real estate. That is my goal. And so when I see my students come back with these receipts, with a $95,000 check to show you that he got 2 months in a deposit, I'm like, yes, say less. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so this is a team sport. This strategy, there's nothing like it. I'm super, super excited about it. And this is one of the biggest ways that we were able to mitigate risk. And that is why I'm passionate. My partner, Ruben, also is passionate about reaching out to as many hosts as possible. We want to create a platform with 10,000 properties that we can go to the insurance directly ourselves and say, hey, here's a pool of midterm rental hosts. Here's your pool right here. Here's where you need to tap into. Okay, so that is why we provide this education month after month. We're looking to grow our platform, to grow to our 10,000. That is our goal, so that we can increase our community's occupancy to 100% while you're generating a meaningful revenue and you're able to help someone in your community that's in need. And we primarily target, the reason I'm so passionate about medical professionals, doctors, pharmacists, nurses, is the healthcare burnout is real. And I know there's burnout in all industries, but the healthcare burnout is real. You leave the 9 to 5 and you're out here hustling on these Airbnb streets, but this is the strategy that I know can make a difference for you. It doesn't matter what what your career is, but I have seen teachers, I've seen real estate agents, I've seen tax strategists, I've seen attorneys, I've seen engineers, I've seen some of our members are Bitcoin millionaires, and other of our members are software engineers. We just have a wide variety of members inside of our community, and it is a community of individuals who are open, who are giving, and that is why I'm so passionate. So, guys, I look forward. Okay, James said he signed up. I cannot wait to see you, my friend. Look forward to seeing you on Thursday. And I love you all to the moon and back, guys.